Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 42 of Deep in the Novo. I'm Ryan Novozinsky, joined here, as always, by my co-host, Sudeep Tumma. We're back in Stillwater. We are no longer recording from our lovely home studio over there in South Brunswick, New Jersey. Sometimes Allentown, New Jersey. No, we're right here back in the, I guess you can call them the friendly confines of Stillwater, Oklahoma. Glad to be back. And starting off with sort of a bang, I guess. A game that finished 81-66 in favor of the number 2 ranked Baylor Bears, a really talented squad there for Scott Drew and company. But when you look at this game and the final score of it, it wasn't as that far away as it seems so on the scoreboard. And that's a testament to Mike Boynton, his game planning, and really how this team was able to adjust in spite of the lack of depth that they had during this game.
The score is so deceiving at this point. But it was a great 29 minutes, 30 minutes for this team, right? Oklahoma State, I wouldn't say dominated, but they played so well to keep up with a Baylor team like that. And it happened in so many degrees. On the defense, they shut down Jared Butler. On offense, they were executing well. But it's difficult. Even if at full strength, you can't keep down a Jared Butler, Teague, and all these guys, right? I mean, you have so many playmakers, so many talented players on Baylor. They play elite defense. I mean, that's one of those teams, elite on offense, elite on defense, and they play a tough schedule every single night in the Big 12 in non-conference play. This is a difficult thing, and you can't really hold it against Oklahoma State, even if they were to be blown out with Cade Cunningham. It's just that sort of team.
Exactly, because the second you shut down Butler, you in steps right? In steps Teague, in steps anybody that can step up for this Baylor team, and it's a team effort too. That's what they're building down there, right? And that's the reason they're able to go on some of these crazy runs. By my estimation, in this game, it was close for about 32 minutes, right? Yep. And then right after then, it went downhill, and that's in large part thanks to just a dominant defensive and offensive mix for this Baylor Bears, right? The reason they were able to go on this run, on this crazy, I think it was 29-9 run at one point, and the reason that it's not so concerning is because this Baylor team is number 2 in the country, right? And it's much different than those 2 other runs that maybe you had against West Virginia, or maybe that Texas went against you. It's much different. This Baylor team is elite of the elite.
They're not so. It wasn't. You're right. It wasn't a blistering run of threes or just you just fall apart or something. It was a thing though. It was concerted, deliberate basketball by Baylor. And you're right. It's like you could shut down Baylor, but it wasn't even. For OSU, it wasn't just shutting down one guy. They played such good zone defense, such good team defense. They shut down everything. They were making tough contested looks, but also what Baylor does so well is they find the open man. Yeah, you have one of the best players in the nation, if not the best, in Jared Butler, but you still have Teague, you still have Mitchell, you still have Tumma, you still have Mark Vital, who's probably the best glue guy, one of the best glue guys, if not the best, in the nation, and you have a team effort. You have a strong bench, right? And they find such good looks. That's what they pierce you with. That's the point I'm getting at, where you can shut them down or you can just defend them well, and they'll find the open man. And that's how basketball works. When you're that unselfish, you become that good offensively because you have these sort of weapons. You know the ball's going to find you and you're open. You have such an unselfish star and so many guys. And it was a great effort by Oklahoma State. But, man, Baylor is just that good of a team.
Baylor is so dominant, man. And can we talk obviously, we will talk about Vital and the game that he had during this. But, man, I think Jared Butler, when it's all said and done this year, I humbly believe that he will be the Naismith Player of the Year, and he's definitely in an argument for that. I mean, this kid can do it all really down there. And when you think about how he works with Scott Drew's system, it all just flows together well, right? You talk about teamwork. You talked about finding the open man. Jared Butler can find the open man, and he can also be that open man to set up some of these scoring opportunities.
That's the thing. I mean, he's in strong contention for the game. Luke Garza might just be too good to take it.
That's true.
but at the same time, this guy is. It's the fact that you look at the numbers, and Jared Butler's impact goes so far beyond that it's a reasonable argument to say he might win it over Luke Garza. He's an elite shooter. Obviously, he can get to the basket. He racks up assists. He's a good passer, and then he's an elite defender on the other side, right? I mean, he's. By far, this is what you can say for sure. He's the best two-way player in the country. There's no argument of that. There's no Luke Garza there. But that's what I'm saying. Jared Butler's such an impact player. He can find the open man. He can drive in and get to the basket. He's unselfish. And that's what makes this team so good. And yeah, I mean, this is a guy who wasn't prominent when he came on the scene, right? He's gotten better and better each and every year. These three guards are blitzing. It's a it's a tall task for anyone.
Baylor's got a couple stars, right? They got a couple people that can step up and be sort of that number one guy. Obviously, we talk about Jared Butler, we talk about Vital, talked about some of the other guys, even Teague some nights. Let's talk about the other side of things, and let's just put it bluntly. Baylor had their stars, OSU didn't.
Sure.
They didn't have Cade Cunningham, Rondell Walker. What sort of happened with that, I guess? From what I understand, it was like a weird contact tracing rule or whatever, something like that. He wasn't up to be able to play yet, but he was sitting there on the bench, and he was really doing his thing. But how do you think OSU responded in spite of Cade Cunningham not playing? And how were they able to keep it, while the scoreboard doesn't say so, were they able to keep it close for those 32 minutes?
Yeah, I said it before the game. I woke up that morning and I said, this is the game where people realize this team has more playmakers than just Cade Cunningham.
Mm-hmm.
And Rondell Walker's been one of those guys, but overall, you've got a bunch of guys here. And Isaac Likely is, people forget, right, one of the best point guard when he's healthy. Last year he wasn't healthy, but you saw his impact when he was there on the court. And off the court, he's able to, go in the post and make plays. You have guys like Avery Anderson who can go and score. Bryce Williams, we've seen his impact time and time again. It's the fact that on OSU, obviously the offense wasn't as potent by any measure. But the way they were really able to do it was they slowed down the pace of the game. You saw it on defense. They went to that 2-1-2-2. Forced Baylor to just slow down for just a second. So once Baylor got in the half court, they had 20 seconds to score, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most possessions are using almost that full shot clock. And then on the other side, they're executing offense. They're going at a slow pace because you don't want to get in a track match with Baylor.
Yeah.
Not only do they have the athletes, they have the talent, but they also have the three-point shooting. You start asking, pace, you miss a basket, suddenly Baylor's going the other way. They'll find a three-point shooter in transition,
Mm-hmm.
and they will knock you, right? I mean, they'll knock those threes all night long. They'll get to the basket. They have talented guys. They have big men that can run. They have everything. And then that gives the advantage to Baylor. So OSU did a really good job controlling pace. But the way you really control pace is to not turn the ball over on offense.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it starts, on offense. Because you not only control the pace by not turning over, you make good decisions, you call the right plays, you use that full shot clock, and you take a good shot at the end. And rebounding, they were stuffing a lot of bodies, right? They were getting 3, 4, 5 guys to the basket.
Mm-hmm.
They were grabbing rebounds. And what does that do? That forces Baylor to realize, okay, we have to stuff bodies there too, and not just run out in transition, because if we don't, then they're just going to get easy baskets, right? That's what they were doing so well. But it was all because you were able to take smart, deliberate shots. But the moment that started to go away, once you start, little mistake here and there, but also not just mistakes, the fact that Baylor plays such good defense. And once that kind of happened, that little wraparound happened, the baskets weren't falling so much, Baylor got out a little bit, then that pace, that control you had in the game just slipped away. And that's why Baylor, I think, flipped the score, and it looked pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you were doing that on offense, then on defense, you were covering up, right? You were playing good zone defense, you were covering up the looks, you were making them shoot contested balls, forcing them to take tough shots, and that was the difference in the first half. Second half, it started to go away, but also Baylor made some tough shots, right?
Yeah.
They got a few possessions, a few stops here and there, and suddenly the momentum, the pace just completely shifts, and that was the big thing.
That was the big thing, and like you said, it seemed seamless for Baylor to be able to do that, to turn that switch, to hit those shots in spite of OSU, or when OSU's down, when Baylor was hitting those shots, it was almost a seamless process for them. It was almost an easy process for them. It's one of the main reasons why you talk about it, them being the number 2 team in the country. This is why they're up there, right? Yeah. And that's the kind of mentality that this team has. That's the kind of wherewithal that Scott Drew's built there. And that's what, you're going to see from a team that can go deep in the tournament, right?
Sure.
So when a team is down, right, and even if OSU doesn't have Cade Cunningham, they still played pretty damn well, I think. And they're still able to do this against a really good OSU team that still has Isaac Likely, that has Caleb Boone being on top of his freaking game yesterday. We'll go in depth on that in a second. But, man, and all these other guys, right? Bryce Williams, shooting a lot of shots and putting up some good shots here and there. But they're able to attack when OSU is down like that. And even just a smidge, like literally just one little down moment, Baylor's able to attack on that. And that's, like I said, the one of the reasons they were able to produce such a big run there.
And that's what makes Baylor so dangerous. I mean, you can play the perfect game and the perfect game plan even without Cade, even without Rondell.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to the offense and what they did so well, they picked their spots so well. 10 threes were shot. 7 of them were more by Bryce Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, I felt like that was it. There weren't bad shots. There weren't forced shots. There weren't just, hey, someone's open, let's take a shot. Well, it doesn't sound like a bad shot. You got to realize your personnel, right? You don't want to take 6, 7 Isaac Likely wide open threes because it's Isaac Likely, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a rhythm shooter. He understands when and if to take a spot. Bryce Williams a volume shooter. Rondell Walker's a volume shooter. Cade Cunningham's a volume shooter. But those guys, 2 of those guys were gone, and you knew that Bryce Williams, when he had his looks, he could take them. The other guys, it was deliberate, right? Getting the right looks, getting in, and they hit the ball down low. That's a big thing. It's much harder to go downhill from out of bounds from the 3-point line when you're a guard, because then you're prone to double teams, you're prone to different coverages. But when you just get the ball down, the game is simplified. Get in the post. That was a big factor here.
Was there anybody? I know you talked about at the beginning how you thought this was going to be the game where OSU was able to show that they're more like Cade Cunningham, more depth. Was there anybody that disappointed you in that regard? That given this opportunity against Baylor, right, without Cade, without Rondell, did anybody sort of not show up in the way that you might have wanted them to?
I thought everyone kind of played their role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even when Kumar came in and he set
My
screen,
man.
right? Yeah, he's playing defense. He's doing what he has to. Demon obviously didn't play a lot of minutes, but
Yeah.
Keelan Boone is just kind of, I don't know if it's disappointing. It's surprising as to why his minutes have kind of gone down the past so many times. But you saw him hit a 3, which was super. That's good, right? I mean that's just a good sign moving forward because he has struggled from 3 this season. He hasn't shot a lot of them. When last year he started to emerge as a good 3-point shooter, and you thought coming to this year they have a lot better shooters, right? With Fair and Flavors and Boone and Cade and Rondell and Bryce, and Keelan Boone making a 3 definitely made an impact. I thought everyone played to their role, right? I mean, Matthew Alexander Moncrief, they're not going to him as much in the post because I think they realize a little raw and a little bit of you got to develop that a little bit more. But they're using him in different ways, right? As a lob catcher, as a guy who can come off pick and rolls, as a rebound putback guy, and it's working because he produced a double-double, I believe, or close to it. And there wasn't really anyone disappointing. I thought everyone played kind of to what they need to because I didn't expect everyone to explode, right? But I think to what they were asked to do, what they are used to do, and what their talent will allow them to do, I think it worked out well.
Yeah, someone that definitely worked out well was Mr. Caleb Boone. Enough time to shine the spotlight on him, and somebody that you and I have talked about all season long. Someone that you and I thought, given the right opportunity, given some of the, limiting his foul issues, limiting some of the weird issues, he would get it together. And this was the game that he put it all into fruition. He had some of these hustle plays. I mean, just taking one look into one particular play, I believe it was in the second half. No, I believe it might have been at the end of the first half. Hustled to keep the ball out of bounds, right? Hustled to keep the ball, threw it over to, I can't remember honestly who threw the lob up to him, but went right back into position to get that lob, slam it down. Those were the kinds of plays that Caleb Boone was making, and many other different kinds of plays. Obviously, scoring 21 points was really impressive for him. To have a career night like this in this moment was really good for him, right? Using his leverage down low, using his creativity in the paint, and just other scoring opportunities that he was able to create. He did it all, and he proved to be somebody that could step up in one of these situations.
Mike Boyden said something interesting after the game. He said, "What I've got to get Caleb to realize is that they don't just need him when there's an emergency; they need him at all times because that's the truth, right? Because this team doesn't have a lot of post presence, obviously, right? Like I said, Isaac Likely, I think, is their best post player, but Caleb Boone can be, right? He has that sort of athleticism and that sort of size and ability that post took, the up and under move. He's got some of those things, and that's what you saw this game. He can be the pick and roll guy because he's maybe not the biggest guy, but he's a very athletic big man, right? So when he sets those picks on the rim running, he can go, he can finish lobs, he can finish through contact, and then he's getting better in the post. Early on, what I used to talk about, he was always going righty, right? No matter what, he was trying to finish with right hand, and that kind of inhibited a little bit. But now you're seeing him go with the left hand, and it's really improving the game because it gives him another option. And then, like I said, you got the up and unders, you got this and that, and what he's also doing really well is is the assists. That's something he's really improved throughout the season, where not when you can handle the ball on the perimeter, or you can handle the post or the mid range, wherever. He's able to find cutting guards. He's able to give the ball to guards in position, give the ball to forwards in positions. He's improved as a passer. And early on, you would see he would make the right look, but it was a little too crowded, or the pass came off just a little bit. Now he's starting to complete some of those, and he's making a more heftier impact. I mean, the assists aren't crazy. He doesn't throw a lot of passes either, but it's another impact thing where it changes the dynamic of how you cover him and how this offense can run. And I think Caleb Boone has been, this is the type of thing that you kind of expected. Obviously, maybe not 20 points every night, probably not 20 points every night, but his sort of impact, that's what you asked for. And he had a couple blocks, I believe. He was strong on the defensive end. This is the Caleb Boone that OSU needs.
I know how much stock you love to take into online comments, but but what I was seeing yesterday a little bit, just some of the pulse of the social media, was that people were questioning Baylor's interior defense because of how well Caleb Boone played. Now, let's not go crazy here, but, I mean, look, the way he was able to pierce through there and was able to let his impact be shown just through his post play, like you said, through some of those fadeaway hooks, it was really well. And he's somebody that, as Mike Boynton said, he's got to be there, and he's got to be there not just in emergencies.
Look, it's nonsense to say that. I mean, here's the truth. Float on, but you got size there. I mean,
sure.
I'm going to try this. Jonathan Chamua Chacha.
There you go.
Probably did that wrong.
No, you didn't.
I mean, he's a strong guy, too. He's got great lateral quickness. He played a lot of minutes for Baylor. He's strong. He's so athletic. He hustles. He brings another sort of energy for Baylor. And you've got great post defense, interior defense, not just because of you got those two guys, but because Baylor knows how to double so well. They're top 5 defense in the country for a reason. They're able to bring guards down. They're able to rotate so well. They're help defense. So it's like whenever the ball goes in the post, you see the way that Baylor's covering. That you see the double teams they bring and how they're so deliberate and so diligent when they play defense. So to say the interior defense is bad is absolute nonsense. It was a great individual effort and a great defense. It was an effort of this, and this is the role that Caleb Boone can play, right? He can hit some of those post-ups, but also he can, play off ball, right? He can find himself in position, catch the ball and finish through contact, in pick and rolls, play off the guards, and it's an impact of both, right? He's making his own plays, but off of Isaac Likely and Cade Cunningham breaking down defenses, altering defenses, and then passing to an open Caleb Boone, who's down in the low block for open layups, for contested layups. That's the impact, and that's what it comes down to.
Just because a forward who doesn't really score 20 points scores 21 points doesn't mean that Baylor's interior defense is bad. So that is what we have to say about that. I know how much you love online comments, so I made sure to bring it up. So
appreciate it.
Of course, man, of course. But it's good to be back here. It's good to be back recording episodes here in Stillwater, here at the source of OSU. OSU's got some momentum going into their next matchup against Iowa State, which is Monday night at 8 p.m. in Ames, Iowa. Okay, beautiful Ames, Iowa. You ever been to Ames?
I have not been.
Oh, I haven't either.
How do you know it's beautiful?
You ever, Google Earth?
I do.
Okay, yeah, it's a really good application.
Can I see Google Earth?
Yeah, of course. I'll show you afterwards. But that is all we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will have all this coverage